Oh boy, this is gonna be a heavy episode. Ah. All right. Whew. I think I need my anxiety pills. Thank you for being my emotional support. Just gotta, you know. Ooh, it's hard. This is new. Ooh. Okay. Okay. I had to get through this because, yeah, it's on my heart. I gotta get through it. What do you do when you can feel yourself growing, but some days the healing still hurts? That's where I've been lately. Somewhere between who I used to be and who I'm becoming. It's strange, this middle place. You start to outgrow old patterns, old people, even old ways of seeing yourself. But there are still parts of you that ache, that still remember, that are still catching up to your growth. What do we do with that?
Too low to the mall, with a couple capos and 100 fucking dimes. College slaughter gang, you get your shit popped. Take up with a drum, the bitch ain't never go stop. Be on that line, boy, shit.
Welcome to this episode of A Legendary Mess. I'm your hostess with the messiest mostest, Mary Magdalene. I've missed you, cousins. I hope you all have been just blessed and legendary. First things first, this is a safe space for the underdogs, the invisible, the messy yet iconic, healing, learning, legendary folks who feel unheard, unseen, unloved, just unsomething. I'm your head honcho, cousins. I'm with y'all. Second, we give ourselves grace, just as God has, because the world is already harsh. Third, like, comment, share, subscribe, YouTube, or IG at I am Ray Martine or A Legendary Mess. I'm just a vessel here to help, really. So let's talk about this because I'm currently in this releasing, purging, and becoming, but I'm also grieving who I was. I think that's where God has been meeting me. Not in the neatness, but in the becoming. This is going to be a different episode. I'm going to be transparent. Recently, I was reading about Mary Magdalene. And something caught in my spirit with the story. She wasn't the loudest. She didn't stand on a platform or preach to a crowd. But she was the one who stayed. When everyone else ran, when the noise and the chaos surrounded the cross, Mary stayed. And later, when the tomb was empty and the silence felt heavy, she stayed again. She waited. She wept. She listened. And here's my story. I was her. I was Mary at a lot of points in my life, even recently. And while I was writing my letter to God the other night, as I do every other night, I was overwhelmed with gratitude because I'm so used to people leaving me. I always brace for when they leave, all the time. But this changed me recently when I suffered a severe mental and emotional breakdown. In June, the weight of all of my unspoken finally came to a head and almost crushed me. And I honestly couldn't do it anymore. I was crying, I was overwhelmed, I was exhausted and just hurt and angry because everyone heard my words, but not that unspoken weight. That broke me. I was ready to leave it all, and if that meant everyone around me had peace, I was willing. But God really met me where I was. In the moment, I just couldn't. My eldest daughter, who's used by God, was scared, and she called my best friend, my sister, and God used the both of them and two other unsuspecting people to break through to me, kind of like diverting me in a sense. I overall ended up in the hospital, and at my most broken and most unrecognizable, God ended up rewriting my story. I ended up calling my girl, Christina, and her husband, Garvey, because I couldn't even find the words to pray for myself. But I knew if I couldn't, she and he could. And she and Garvey came through, and I'm not used to that. They came and they covered me with prayers and laid hands on me. And in that moment, I heard God clearly say, I have you. You're mine. And as I spent all that time in the hospital, God reminded me I have people who can suffer well with me. I'm just too strong headed to call on them because I always feel like they'll get tired of me. And one day they'll leave, like a lot of people. I'm just so thankful that this happened, honestly. It exposed my health issue. It exposed a lot of things that I wasn't supposed to be carrying that weren't mine, that I was holding. And I just needed to pray for myself more as I pray for everyone else. In my most fragile moment, God was just so gentle. And he met me where I was more than once. But this time was really different because I had nothing left in me to fight. I love my children to the point that if I'm bad for them, I'm responsible enough to own that and remove myself to better protect them. See, I'm used to everyone having me sit and be there for them and show up, and this time I felt like I had nobody, and it was a dangerous space. I was at my lowest and my most broken, and God met with me. He sat with me, and he didn't leave me. And I learned he's really unconditional, and I had to relearn it. And I had to get honest. I had to be honest in my relationship with God because I wasn't. Even in my recent conversation with my ex-husband, I admitted and said, I can't ever run away from God again because in the moment I was ready to pack it up, he showed up and he showed me differently. And now when I'm rereading the Bible, it hits different. And I realized I was Mary and I was unrecognizable Mary. And now I'm humble Mary, the humble disciple who's running even harder to God, even in the unheavy, unspoken weight. I realized that God has been teaching me that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in your healing and becoming is to just stay present, stay open, stay still long enough to hear what your pain is trying to teach you or say to you. If I'm honest, I used to think healing meant moving on really quickly, proving that I was strong, that I was over it, and that I'm a superhuman, that I could keep going. But lately, I'm learning that healing sometimes looks like stillness, like sitting with the version of me that had to survive and saying, you did what you had to do, but you don't have to live that way anymore. And I'm so thankful. And I'm glad I'm here to share my story with you guys. That's what becoming feels like. It's learning to love the healed parts and the hurting parts all at the same time. It's allowing God to resurrect what's still sacred in the mess. Like Mary, I'm learning that revelation happens when you stay long enough to see resurrection, not just in your life, but in your identity too. Oh, I'm emotional and I'm sorry, excuse me, guys, but honest me, I'm glad I'm sharing this in real timing. So maybe this week, I just want to invite you guys to pause right where you are. Like, just be still, hurting and all. Don't rush your growth. Don't shame your slow healing, because God is still speaking through what feels heavy, and He's making a way. And I can promise you guys that. The unspoken really does still speak. Maybe not in this. Maybe it's not the silence, Maybe it's the sacred. So, cousins, with all this weight, the question is, ask yourself, what is God trying to show me in the quiet parts of my becoming? And if I'm honest, what I'm learning is you're not behind. You're not broken. You're just becoming. And sometimes the most iconic, most legendary, most amazing breaking way and thing you can do is you just stay long enough to hear what your healing is whispering back to you. I love you, but God loves you guys way more than I do. And I'm signing off. And guys, this is a whole new season. My transparency is very, very bold and honest, and so is my story. And I just want to speak to whoever might have been in my shoes or is still in that space that I just left. You really are worth something. You just have to sit still and stay long enough to see the resurrection. And I promise you it's worth it. I'm signing off, you guys. I'm Ray Martine. I love you, but God really does love you more. And this is a legendary mess where even the unspoken still speaks. See you soon, cousins.
Too low to the mall, with a couple capos and 100 fucking dimes. Color slaughter gang, you get your shit popped. Draco with a drum, the bitch ain't never go stop. Be on that night war shit.